like, what we had to go home to. And, and I see some of my students now and I'm like, I mean, they got it tough. And so I'm like, man, we had it tough, but there's always worse out there. And so, but for us, if we would rather have been at school and at practice than at home for the most part.
Right.
And so there's a variety of different reasons for that. And so I think that helped us become more committed, right? We're like not every student athlete right now has, they like, a lot of them like to go back to their house or play their video games, where we were like, no, let's stay at practice. Let's just grind and get better and then like go when it's like really dark. Get home when it's dark.
And you kind of had like a built-in kind of competitor in your brother, right? Like,
yeah. So my twin and I were very competitive, and I think that was because we always had somebody right then and there playing one-on-one basketball, or who can hit it further off the tee in baseball, or who can kick the ball the hardest in soccer, or who can get the better grades, which I won that battle. Or who can get the best looking girl, right? And so like growing up, it was just like who's gonna win in the fights, right? Which my brother got me a little bit more than I got him in that realm, and that's okay. But we learned at an early age that life is competitive, man. Like sometimes if you want to survive and you want to eat, like you're gonna have to compete to be the first one to the bread store to go jump in the trash can and get some food, right? Like on the chip runs. And so unfortunately we did some things that we were looking back we regret now, but it's competitive, and it's a survival of the fittest. I think it's kind of the mentality we took growing up. Like, you got to be the best if you're going to survive. And we've kind of taken that into life.
Yeah, I love that, Coach. And you talked about the chip runs. Can you bring us back with that? I was enjoy hearing.
Yeah, so we growing up, we had this little we grew up in poverty, right? And single parent household, and my biological mom did the best she could, but it's hard when you're in and out of jail, or you're kind of in the drug scene, and you got a lot of sketchy people around, right? And so it's just hard to provide, and that's just kind of a very general way. It's just hard to provide in that setting. And so there used to be a bread store off Hart and L across from Dudes. I don't know what it's called now. And they would they would throw away all the expired food. And so we would go on these things that we called the chip runs with our friends. And we would, we kind of figured out when those, the stuff would be in there, and that would be like, first one you get there gets the best stuff. And so we'd go on these runs, whatever it was, a couple miles to maybe that's why I became a good track athlete. I don't know. And we'd run over there, grab the food out of the trash, and, it was wrapped up, and, we'd have some snacks and whatever for the next few days. And
so you were just competing like against maybe other people who knew that trash can was there.
Yeah. My brother was one, and then some of our friends kind of got in on it. You spread the word a little bit, because look, when you're in that environment, you're in that what we call like this habitus, right? It's like you're around people who are living in that world too, and so you're all kind of have the same struggles, and so we kind of like the word got out, hey, the chip run, and so we kind of came like a way to make fun of the situation for us, right? And some of our friends, keep it light. Where maybe we didn't during that time we didn't really think it was as bad as it really was, And so that helped us.
So looking back on times like that, did you're using that type of competitiveness to maybe like propel you forward? Like was the chip runs, was that like, did you have to do that on the daily? Did you have to do that on the weekly? Like what type of a grind was that? Like,
yeah, that was, it was more like a weekly thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah, weekly thing. And, for us, we knew if we wanted to, this is not a knock on my biological mom. Like, she did the best she could, but we knew if we wanted to, eat things of somewhat nutrition, like we had to go to school. And so we had to be at school to get breakfast and lunch. And then, after that, after school, it's all right. Now we're out there. We're going to compete to figure it out. And, that could look, other than just chip runs. I mean, honestly, this isn't good to say. And, it is what it is. Like, we did things that like kids shouldn't be doing, stealing and like trying to get, food from, stores and stuff. But it's because we were just trying to survive. It sucks to admit something like that. But that's just where we were at. And, I don't think that, that's the people we are today, thieves and stuff. We're not stealing, from the grocery store anymore. But that's just what we grew up in. And we didn't really know any different. And a lot of times the kids don't know any different, and they get stuck in that. And unfortunately, we didn't.
That's the reality of your world. But like, how do you come out of that? You talked about being stuck in that. How does somebody get out of that, where it's like not just the perpetuation of the cycle, like if this is generational, this is socioeconomic, and this is generational, and this is just the stuff that's getting passed down, and you're learning, you're getting conditioned, like what breaks the cycle? What breaks the chains?
Yeah, I think if people come into your lives,
Yeah.
which there's an opportunity for people to come in your lives in a variety of ways and settings, and for us, it was in education. We had some incredible teachers, coaches, staff members, and administrators come into our lives and really, show us the light in a way. And that happened, really in sixth grade for us. We had one specific teacher, Miss Parks, who was like, showed us that like there's another way. Like you guys have some athletic ability, and like you're not bad kids like you think you are. Like you could change this now. And then I remember in sixth grade thinking, I was like a D student. I was showing up to school because I needed to eat, but like I was a D student. I was like the non-student of the family, right, out of the three. And then like she had a conversation with me, and I'm like, man, like I can be better, and I can do something. And like from there on, like my grades were, I was an A/B student, and things, went up from there. But and that was from an academic standpoint.